Inside the church, a silent drama of mourning unfolded. A sob was heard from the back of the crowd. All eyes turned to the entrance. A woman in black stood alone. The wicked woman of the Pharisephan family had arrived. Whispers passed between the pews like poison. She seduced the Marquis, took his fortune, became his second wife. The rumors were true after all. Then her husband, Casper, died in an accident. Everything went as she wished. She is the curse of this family. Beneath the black veil, her expression was hidden from all. She walked past the whispering crowd and slowly knelt alone before the altar. Her gloved hands twisted together. She prayed silently, "Lord Casper, the role you gave me will soon be over. It won't be long before I join you." Or so she thought. But a wave of warmth enveloped her. Albert's arms. They surrounded her like a cage. The memory was so vivid. Her cheek was pressed against Albert's chest. This is wrong. She struggled slightly in his arms. "We're getting a divorce." But Albert only held her tighter. His warm breath brushed against her hair. "Diana, please listen to me." He took Diana's hand, the pads of his fingers stroking her knuckles. The tenderness felt like a searing pain. Albert knelt before her on one knee. "I love you." Albert brought her hand to his lips. The love of a Pharisephan man is a heavy thing. His gaze did not waver. It was both a promise and a warning. "You must be prepared." A hint of pleading appeared in Diana's eyes. "My lord, please reconsider." Albert simply stared at her. "Diana, I love you. Every time you say that, I will respond with my love." A blush spread across Diana's cheeks. What's wrong with him? He was always so serious before. He never even smiled at her. "But for his happiness, I cannot stay by his side. I absolutely cannot. Falling in love with my husband. Binoa's kingdom. Pharisephan mansion. Several months have passed since Lord Casper's death. Diana stood alone by the window, gazing into the distance. A hand gently rested on her shoulder. "Lady Diana, so you were here." She turned to see Kali, the maid. Kali smiled faintly. "It seems Lord Albert will be arriving soon." Diana wrung her hands. "Yes, I should go to the entrance to greet him." Kali guided her. "Before that, please sit for a moment. Your hair is a bit messy. I'll fix it for you right away." The comb glided gently through her long, silver-white hair. As Kali combed, she said, "I'm so looking forward to it. He's Lord Casper's grandson. He must be a fine young man." Diana only responded softly, "I suppose so. I hear Lord Albert looks a lot like his father, Lord Fritz." Diana's thoughts drifted. Lord Casper's son, Lord Fritz. She remembered Lord Casper's words. Although the time is not yet right, he hoped to one day bring his son's family back from the neighboring country. She could still recall the loving expression on Lord Casper's face as he spoke. But that dream could never be realized. A great disaster struck the neighboring country. Lord Casper, worried for his son's safety, set out to find him, but met with an accident along the way and never returned. By the time the Pharisephan family's envoy reached the neighboring country, Lord Fritz and his wife had both perished. Their only surviving child, Lord Albert, would inherit the title and fortune. He came here all alone. Diana instructed, "Lord Albert has not only lost his grandfather, but also his parents. So please be gentle with him." Kali replied softly, "Of course, I'll tell the other maids as well." Kali then added, "But I think the best support for him would be you, Lady Diana. After all, you are of a similar age and have both lost loved ones." Diana said softly, "Don't say such things to the wicked woman of the Pharisephan family. I lost my parents when I was a child and was adopted by the Pharisephan family. Later, for certain reasons, I married Lord Casper at the age of 15. Since then, the rumors have followed me like a shadow, saying I scheme for the fortune, that I am the wicked woman of the Pharisephan family." Kali's tone was indignant. "Honestly, that's just idle gossip from people who don't know you. Everyone in the residence adores you." Kali's hand rested gently on Diana's shoulder. She wore a determined expression. "I will continue to take strict care of you, as always." Diana showed a faint smile. "Thank you." But in her heart, she had other plans. "I'm sorry, Kali. That's impossible. I'll be leaving here soon." She had already decided her next steps, to visit the places filled with memories of Lord Casper. "And then, I will join you soon, Lord Casper." A black carriage stopped in front of the mansion. The servants were already lined up, waiting. Lord Albert has arrived. The moment he looked up, their eyes met in midair. Diana's heart skipped a beat. "The same eye color as Lord Casper." She lifted her skirt. "A graceful welcome to you, new master of the house." She placed a hand on her chest. "I am Diana von Pharisephan, wife of the late Lord Casper." Albert's gaze didn't waver in the slightest. He just watched her quietly. Diana turned to the side. This is Hans, the butler, and Latte, the head housekeeper. He finally spoke, his voice steady. I am Albert von Farisefen. I look forward to working with you. Only a silent exchange of gazes remained in the air. A cheerful voice broke the silence. Hey, aren't you going to introduce me to? A blonde woman appeared from behind Albert, intimately linking her arm with his. Albert's tone was flat as he introduced her. This is Mia. She's from my hometown and will be staying here for a while. Mia winked playfully at him. What's with that? Why not just say I'm your lover? She turned to Diana, her smile holding a hint of scrutiny. So you're the infamous wicked woman, the witch of the Farisefen fortune. Those rumors have even spread abroad, seducing the old marquis while playing around with men. Some even suspect you of trafficking children. Albert frowned. Mia, however, was unfazed. But Al, weren't you most worried about your grandfather's wife? Albert's tone became serious. You shouldn't say such things so casually. Besides, those are just rumors. I'll judge with my own eyes. He turned to Diana. My apologies, Diana. Shall we go first? Diana bowed her head slightly. The feeling is mutual. I am well aware of the various rumors about me. If anything has made you uncomfortable, I apologize. She watched their departing backs, her heart calm. Lord Albert is not one to blindly believe rumors. He will judge things fairly. And Miss Mia seems frank enough to apologize when confronted with the truth. I'll entrust everything to them, and then I'll leave this estate as soon as possible. The next day, a magnificent carriage was parked outside the mansion. Lord Albert will formally inherit the title and assets. Lord Casper's will is to be read before witnesses. According to the laws of this country, inheritance rights are only recognized for blood relatives within 3 generations. If there are no relatives, the estate will be returned to the state treasury. As a wife with no inheritance rights, Diana was not required to attend the reading of the will. If it's Lord Casper's will, everything will surely proceed smoothly. Diana saw Mia wandering in the hallway. She approached her. Are you lost? Mia jumped. Whoa, Diana, you scared me to death. You looked like a ghost just now. I was just exploring and ended up unable to find my way back to my room. Don't get the wrong idea. Diana turned to lead the way. I'll take you. Mia followed behind her. Oh, right. I heard you got married at 15. I was shocked. AL's grandpa really had it in him. She tilted her head, her gaze innocent yet direct. What's it like being married to an old man? How much money did you get? Diana stopped in her tracks. Lord Casper was a very kind person. He gave me a great deal. Mia pouted. Of course he did. He was rich, wasn't he? Even if you can't inherit the estate, you must have gotten a lot while he was alive. Diana softly refuted. It's not like that. The butler Hans's voice appeared just in time. Madam, Diana asked, this is much earlier than scheduled. Has the will already been read? Hans shook his head. It was decided that you must also be present. That is why I have come to fetch you. The door was pushed open. An elderly man with glasses stood at the entrance. He introduced himself. I am Kidman, the Farisefen family's legal advisor. Seeing this, Mia immediately came closer. If Diana can attend, then so can I, right? After all, I'm AL's lover. Kidman looked troubled. That would be inappropriate. The red-haired man, sitting on the sofa, spoke up. It should be fine, shouldn't it? He sized Mia up with interest. She followed him all the way here. She's clearly very concerned about this inheritance. And if she hears it for herself, perhaps she'll give up. Mia immediately thanked him. Thank you, wait. What do you mean, give up? The red-haired man smiled and introduced himself. I'm Thomas. I am the executor of this will, directly appointed by the government. I'm also a lawyer. Diana sat on the sofa. Albert's gaze was locked on her, sharp and scrutinizing. Thomas patted Albert's shoulder. Young Marquis Albert, if you keep staring like that, you'll see right through the marquise. He continued, even if she is suspicious, this is no way to treat a lady. Albert's gaze did not waver in the slightest. Diana calmly returned his gaze. Kidman broke the deadlock. Well then, since everyone is here, let us begin reading the will. He slowly unrolled the scroll in his hands. This will, now revealed, shattered all the schemes surrounding the Farisefen family, plunging everything into chaos. It was the fate handwritten by Lord Casper himself. Kidman's voice echoed in the room. I, Casper von Farisefen, bequeath the title of Marquis of Farisefen and all assets to my only grandson, Albert von Farisefen. However, the inheritance shall only take effect after a 1-year marriage to Diana von Farisefen. The conditions of the marriage are registration, cohabitation, sharing a bedroom, and they must attend all social events previously attended by the Farisefen family together. After the 1-year period, the two may decide by mutual agreement whether to continue the marriage. If the marital obligations are not fulfilled, Albert will not be recognized as the heir to the marquisate, and all assets will be returned to the state. Kidman closed the scroll. The reading is complete. The room fell deathly silent. The contents of the will echoed in the air. Mia shot to her feet. What is this? What about me? I'm Albert's lover. Thomas looked at her. That's why I said earlier that you might have to give up, isn't it? He spread his hands. It's a shame, but I think you have no choice but to let go. Most aristocratic marriages are political alliances. Honestly, having a beautiful wife is a stroke of luck for him. Don't you think? Albert lowered his eyes, his profile cast in shadow. Mia's tone sharpened. So you're saying I'm going to be kicked out? Thomas shrugged. Well, that's something you'll have to discuss with a married couple, isn't it? Everyone's gaze fell upon Diana and Albert. Mia covered her face with her hands, unable to believe it. This is insane. Diana said nothing. She wondered to herself, Lord Albert and I are to marry? What on earth was Lord Casper thinking? Kidman turned to Diana. Lady Diana, are you willing to accept the will of Lord von Fairseffen? Diana raised her eyes. Yes, I wish to respect Lord Casper's final wishes. Albert shot to his feet, the chair scraping harshly against the floor. He walked over to Diana and looked down at her. He spoke word by word. Diana von Fairseffen, so you really are the despicable woman who toyed with my grandfather. Thomas tried to ease the tension. Whoa, Albert, don't you think it's going too far? Although there have always been rumors about the Marquise. But Albert's voice was filled with rage. How else am I supposed to explain this? You said she didn't receive any inheritance while he was alive, right? She pretended to be innocent and deceived my grandfather. With this will, even if she can inherit, she can continue to hold the title of Marquise. She plans to take advantage of my ignorance and seize the entire estate within a year. Albert strode over to Diana. He suddenly grabbed her by the chin, forcing her to look up. I admit she's beautiful. Hair like silver threads, ruby eyes that burn with fire. A beauty enough to bewitch both old and young. But the thought of this face being close to my grandfather makes me sick. His voice was laced with mockery. What should I call you? Grandmother or my wife? Diana met his gaze without fear. Call me whatever you wish. Albert let out a cold laugh. You're certainly composed. You planned all this to deceive my grandfather. You truly live up to your reputation. He let her go and turned to Mia. I brought my lover here. If anything happens to her, you'll be the first one I suspect. He looked back at Diana, his eyes cold. In 1 year, no matter what you say, I will divorce you. You'd better remember that. Diana closed her eyes and replied softly, as you wish. Albert took Mia's hand. Let's go, Mia. Kidman called out to him. Lord Albert, please wait. Allow me a word. The door was slammed shut. Thomas looked at the red mark on Diana's neck. Wow, this young master certainly has a temper. He's bruised the lady's neck. Honestly, if it were me, I wouldn't think this was so bad. I'd see it as a good deal. Marry a beauty and get an inheritance, even if it's just for a year. What a wet behind the ears brat. Diana turned to him. Sir Thomas, I would like to ask for your assistance on some legal matters. Thomas raised an eyebrow with interest. If it's a request from a beautiful woman, I'm all ears. Is this a secret request to be kept from Sir Kidman? Diana nodded. Yes, I need your help to secretly handle legal proceedings in the capital. Thomas leaned in closer. It's not easy to squeeze a local case into the capital's courts. You'll have to show me some sincerity. Diana took out a check and placed it on the table. If I can win the trust of Lord Albert and Miss Mia, no amount of money is too much for me. Thomas picked up the check, a satisfied smile on his face. Well then, madam, what is your secret request? Diana sat alone by the window. Lord Casper truly gave me so many memories. They came flooding back. Lord Casper holding her hand when she was young. The peaceful times reading together in the study. The days spent bathing in the sun and feeling the breeze in the fields. He was a gentle person who completely healed my wounded heart. I once thought that with my reputation, I might not be able to uphold the dignity of the Marquis' household. The only thing I could do was handle some of the Marquis' duties. What Lord Casper wanted me to do must have been to ensure that both myself and Lord Albert could get through this year peacefully, to guide the immature Lord Albert so he could fulfill the duties of a Marquis on his own. He trusted me so deeply, yet I have failed his expectations. I readily agreed, causing Lord Albert such cruel pain. For him to bring his lover back here, it's because I lack the heart to consider others' feelings that I always fail like this. But at least now, I can finally repay Lord Casper's kindness. To do that, I must win even the slightest bit of Lord Albert's trust. She looked out the window. The warm sunlight fell on her face. I will choose the best path for myself. After all, I have nothing left to lose. When Kali saw the bruise on Diana's neck, she was furious. I will never forgive this. That someone would dare leave such a terrible mark on Lady Diana's white neck. Diana tried to calm her. No, Kali, you misunderstand. Kali interrupted her. Don't bother. I see right through it. The only one who would dare be so rude to Lady Diana is that brutish man. And with your personality, you must have sympathized with that girl, didn't you? That little brat is so selfish. Mia's sharp voice cut in. I'm still waiting for my tea. Is this how Marquis's household treats its guests? Kali thought to herself, perhaps she's just feeling insecure in a new place. But it wasn't that simple. Even Latte, who never showed her emotions, was frowning. Lord Albert's choice of her clearly shows he's in desperate need of someone to take care of him. Diana said softly, Kali, thank you for worrying about me. But it's not right to speak ill of Lord Albert. He is the master of the house. After all, Kali did not back down. I will restrain myself in public. But until he recognizes your worth, I will not show him a shred of respect. Just you wait. When he marries you, Lord Casper will thank me. Diana sat at her desk. Since Lord Casper passed away, most of the official duties have fallen to me. It's become routine now. A male servant knocked and entered. Lady Diana, may I have a word? He was Tobias, a servant of the Pharisephan Marquis. Kali recalled their conversation. Do you understand why I sent you to see them? Your charm is your advantage. Use it to win that young man's heart. Tobias had retorted then, no, Kali, what do you take me for? Tobias apologized to Diana. I'm very sorry, Lady Diana. I just thought it would be best to keep Lord Albert away from the rumors before he heard the truth. He continued, but he doesn't seem to believe me, especially with Miss Mia always by his side. It's almost impossible to get close to him. Kali glared at Tobias. Don't tell me you've been charmed by Mia too. Tobias quickly waved his hands. Not at all. You're much cuter, Kali. Kali blushed. Fine. She continued, why don't you try to flatter that woman? Tobias looked exasperated. You're driving me crazy here, and you just completely ignored what I said. Diana put down her teacup. Tobias, don't worry about me. It's my responsibility to earn Lord Albert's trust. You don't need to trouble yourselves with matters between us. Just stay by his side and make sure he is all right. Tobias looked at Diana gratefully. Diana gazed out the window. A memory surfaced. Lord Casper holding her hand as a child, walking in the garden. Lord Casper pointed to a tree. Diana, this flower is called mimosa. See its cute little yellow puffs? He picked one. Its flower language is secret love. Perhaps it's still too early for you. He looked at her, his eyes sad. But Diana, you are too accustomed to pain. He knelt on one knee and took her hand. I want you to get used to love, not pain. His hand caressed her cheek. My lady, the butler Hans came to report. Lord Albert has signed the inheritance documents. Also, as per his request, the wedding will be held next week. Diana showed no surprise. Understood. Please make the arrangements. Kali fretted at her side. 1 week is too short. The butler Hans knocked again. Excuse me, Lady Diana. Sorry to disturb you again. Diana looked up. What is it? Hans's expression was somewhat troubled. It's about the furniture for the new guest room. The items Miss Mia requested are too expensive and will far exceed the household budget. Well, I told her this. She said we were disrespecting her. She said she should be able to furnish the room to her liking. It seems unreasonable to refuse her. Diana pondered for a moment. The Marquis's assets are frozen for a year because of the will. There's almost no extra money to use. She stood up. I'll handle it. Don't worry, Hans. Diana went to Mia's room. She approached them. I heard Mia was disrespected while arranging her room. Mia sat beside Albert, complaining to him. See, just as I said, she doesn't respect me at all. She came running to apologize. Mia's tone was theatrical. You told me I could choose freely, but then you deliberately humiliated me in front of everyone. It's all because you want me to leave. Albert looked at Diana, his eyes stern. Do you understand how others will view Mia's position when you treat her like that in front of the merchants? Diana smiled faintly. I thought it was just a matter of budget constraints. How foolish of me. Diana bowed slightly. I will ensure all her requests are met. I will handle the budget as well. Albert frowned. Are you saying the budget is low? Diana turned her face away. Please don't worry. If necessary, I will use my personal assets. Albert's tone was mocking. So, you have money for this kind of frivolous spending, but you can't afford things that are actually important? Mia wrapped her arms around Albert's neck. Thank you, Al. You're so good to me. Tobias walked over to Diana. Lady Diana, why are you still here? This is their lovey-dovey time. Tobias sighed. to do this in front of his future wife. Tobias quickly apologized. "Please forgive me," Diana said calmly. "If anything, it's because we're getting married soon. He must want to spend as much time with Mia as possible." Tobias was indignant. "Lady Diana, you should be angry about this." Diana's eyes darkened. "I don't have that right." In their eyes, "I'm the wicked woman who forced this marriage with money and tore a pair of lovers apart." She turned to Tobias. "How many hours does Lord Albert usually sleep?" Tobias thought for a moment. "About 5 or 6 hours, I think. Sometimes less." "Why do you ask?" Diana looked at him. "We'll be sharing a bed after we're married, won't we? I mean, we should make effective use of the night." Tobias looked embarrassed. "Lady Diana, are you saying—" Tobias covered his mouth, stammering. "But if you don't mean that, then what are you trying to say?" Diana tilted her head in confusion. Tobias bowed his head. "Please forgive me. Lady Diana, do you know about the ritual of the wedding night?" Diana repeated, "The ritual of the wedding night." The image of Albert and Mia being intimate flashed through her mind. On the wedding day, sunlight streamed in. The church bells were distant. Diana, in a white wedding dress and holding pink roses, waited peacefully. Kali was by her side, adjusting the final details. That last confrontation was quite satisfying. The door was thrown open. Mia rushed in. "Al doesn't love you one bit." Diana's expression didn't change. "I know. Someone like you is far more suited for Lord Albert than I am." Mia was exasperated. "Are you making fun of me?" She stormed out. Sir Kidman approached, the smile lines at the corners of his eyes warm and reassuring, offering her silent comfort. Sir Kidman offered his arm. He led her down the long carpet, just as he had 5 years ago, bringing her to Lord Casper's side. Albert was waiting quietly, his gaze serene. Kidman's voice was low and steady. "Diana, Lord Casper truly wished for your happiness. He so wanted you to meet his family." Diana remembered that kindness. Even to an outsider like me, Lord Casper gave so much love. In her memory, his gentle hand, its warmth, remained to this day. Diana looked at Albert. Lord Casper, if only he could have shared a happy family life with Lord Albert and Lord Fritz. Her eyes grew slightly moist. It's a pity he didn't live to share this moment with his own son. That regret must have been a heavy burden on his heart. Kidman placed her hand in Albert's. Albert's hand tightened. He pulled her closer. He leaned into her ear, his voice cold, yet unable to hide the tremor in his eyes. "Crying won't help now. There is no happiness in this marriage." A tear slid from the corner of Diana's eye. "Yes, I understand." Albert continued his declaration. "Don't expect any love from me." Diana fought back a tremor. "Of course. I won't be a bother to you." Albert looked away, but the tips of his ears were bright red. He took her arm, and they walked down the aisle together. The two stood side by side before the altar. Vows echoed in the empty church, witnessed by a few people in the pews. At the dinner table, the atmosphere was heavy. Thomas cleared his throat. "By order of the National Asset Administration Bureau, as the executor of the will, I reconfirm." His gaze swept over the two of them. The marriage registration of Albert von Ferriseffen and Diana von Ferriseffen. He gave a mischievous smile. He stood up and announced, "You should understand that today does not end with the ceremony." He turned to leave. "I will continue to supervise. I will also be staying the night here." Albert shot to his feet, the chair making a harsh scraping sound on the floor. Diana was startled by him. He also turned and left. The door slammed shut behind him, leaving a room full of silence. Kali chuckled softly. "Madam, you did it." Lord Albert's ears were red the whole time. Diana lowered her eyes. Yes, he was very angry. Kali exchanged a look with Sir Kidman, a gentle understanding in her eyes. "I don't think that was anger." Kali's tone held a hint of compromise. "All right, madam. I'll go prepare a warm bath." Steam filled the air. Kali's eyes were filled with worry. "If you decide to leave tonight, I will not stand in your way." Her fingers ran through her hair, the motion gentle and precious. She continued, "After all, he is Lord Casper's grandson, of the noble Ferriseffen bloodline." Kali's voice dropped to a whisper. "Madam, may I ask you something? When you imagine being touched by him, don't you feel afraid?" Diana's body trembled slightly. "Kali knows my past. That memory is like a coal brand. That's why she's worried for me. However, when Lord Albert touched me, I didn't hate it. His eyes are the same color as Lord Casper's, so it's not so scary after all." A relieved smile appeared on Diana's lips. Kali's breath hitched for a moment. "That's wonderful." Diana responded softly. "Thank you for worrying about me, Kali." Her smile was gentle and sincere, her eyes holding the warmth of a sky after a storm. The door opened with a soft click. Diana, now in a black dress, stood silently before the door. She walked with steady steps into the spacious bedchamber toward the desk. She pulled open a drawer. "It's all right. I can definitely do this." Just then, a knock came from the door. Diana opened the door. Albert stood there silently, his robe hanging loosely open. Diana met his gaze, a faint smile playing on her lips. Albert's cheeks flushed, his eyes a little flustered. He strode past her and sat heavily in a chair. The smell of alcohol wafted from him. Diana poured him a cup of tea. She spoke softly, "My lord, would you like to talk?" Albert didn't look at her. "I'm not interested in anything you have to say." Diana leaned closer to him. "It's something important." Albert waved his hand in annoyance. "Then sit down and say it." Diana sat down opposite him. "I have no intention of interfering with you and Miss Mia. On the contrary, I support you both." Albert let out a scoff. "Considering our situation, isn't that a contradiction?" Diana answered calmly, "Indeed it is. In fact, I only recently learned the truth myself." Albert frowned. "What do you mean?" Diana's gaze was frank. "It's shameful to admit, but I only understood what marital consummation meant this week." Albert's expression was one of confusion. Diana continued to explain. "I'm referring to what married couples do in the bedroom to conceive a child." Albert immediately held up a hand to stop her. "Wait, that's enough. No need for details." Diana lowered her eyes. "Yes, and I also understood how tragic it is to be forced to do such a thing with someone you don't love." Albert picked up his teacup. "Is that your own idea, or did someone tell you that?" Diana looked at him. "I personally don't have such feelings, so I believe I can still perform my duty." Albert choked on his tea. "You truly are a wicked woman. But never mind, continue." Diana's gaze did not waver. "So, I asked Sir Thomas how we could prove we have consummated the marriage without upsetting you and Miss Mia." Albert's voice rose an octave. "You asked?" Diana said frankly, "Yes. Usually, it's judged by the bloodstain on the sheets." Albert put a hand to his forehead. "You really shouldn't have asked something like that. Both the one who asked and the one who answered are utterly absurd." Albert ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "So whatever. What solution did you come up with?" Diana said calmly, "My marriage to Lord Casper was never consummated." Albert's movements froze. Diana continued, "I have already processed the paperwork and obtained proof of the marriage's annulment. Therefore, I can also use the method Sir Thomas mentioned to prove this farce. An annulment declares that the marriage was never consummated, making it as if it never existed from the start. This is what Lord Casper taught me. He said, 'Diana, when you meet someone you truly love, use this.'" Albert stared at her, stunned. "My grandfather. What kind of person was he?" Diana leaned forward slightly. "So, could you cooperate with me just a little?" Albert recoiled sharply. "I thought you were experienced." Diana opened a drawer. "It's all right. I have no experience, but if you're willing to trust me." Albert's face instantly turned beet red. "No, that's not the point. If only I had known it would come to this." Diana sat on the edge of the bed, her eyes filled with complete calm and resolve. Diana's hand lifted the hem of her skirt. Albert quickly covered his face, his gaze averted. "I should have researched this beforehand." A small knife appeared in Diana's hand. The blade cut across her pale thigh. Blood seeped out. Albert's pupils contracted. His blue eyes were filled with shock. He rushed forward and grabbed her arm. "You idiot! What are you doing?" Blood seeped from the wound. Albert tried to lift her, his voice filled with panic. "Call a maid." Diana grabbed his wrist. "Please don't." She raised her hand and gently covered his mouth. Her voice was soft but firm. "I need you to be quiet." Albert's cheeks flushed. Diana's gaze was steady. She lowered her hand. "It's all right. I can handle it myself." She pointed to the dressing table. "Can you give me the bandages?" "They're in that drawer." A flicker of vulnerability crossed her eyes. "I may have cut deeper than I intended." She gently wrapped the white bandage. Albert looked down at her. "Why did you do that?" Diana looked up, her gaze unwavering. "This way, neither my husband nor Miss Mia will be upset, and it will also prove to Sir Thomas that we spent the night together." Albert's cheeks burned. "What kind of reason is that? How pathetic of me to have mistakenly thought she was trying to seduce me." He clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. "If she was going to do something like this, she might as well have just killed me." Albert took the bandage from her hand. His voice was a bit stiff. "I'll help you." His fingertips carefully touched her skin. A faint blush colored his cheeks. He didn't dare look her in the eye. He leaned down, his voice unconsciously softening. "Does it hurt?" Diana shook her head. "It's fine. I don't feel much pain." She added calmly, "Because I'm already broken." Albert froze. Broken? What does that mean? And what about this wound? He clumsily tied the knot. Diana's voice was soft. My husband, you're very good at bandaging. Thank you very much. Albert said, commoners can't afford doctors, so everyone knows how to do this. Albert's mind was screaming. Just put away already. Albert stood up and put the remaining items back in the drawer. He turned and saw her reflection in the large dressing mirror, sitting quietly on the edge of the bed. Albert walked over to her. He couldn't just leave like this. What did you mean when you said you had no feelings, that you were broken? Diana looked up, her red eyes empty. Her voice was calm and flat. Because of some things that happened when I was a child, I don't seem to feel much pain, either physically or emotionally. She picked up the small knife again, her red eyes looking straight at him. Do you want to try? Her hand moved to her own wrist. They say this is where a person feels the most pain. She pushed up her sleeve, revealing an arm covered in old scars. Albert's heart seemed to stop. In disbelief. Could have been my grandfather? Fury flared in Diana's eyes. Lord Casper would never do such a thing. Albert's gaze darkened. Diana clutched her own arm tightly. He was always so gentle with me. He never hurt me, not even once. Only a heavy silence remained in the room. Albert's voice was low and bitter. So, you think I'm the kind of person who would do that? Diana looked up and watched him quietly. His voice was flustered. That's not what I meant. A flicker of hurt crossed Albert's eyes. I will not tolerate such an insult again. Diana lowered her head, her hands clasped in front of her. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. An awkward silence filled the air. The distance between them felt like a chasm. Albert looked at her. Who is this woman? Really? She was supposed to be the wicked woman who seduced my grandfather. Regret filled Albert's eyes. I should never have come near Pharisephin in the first place. Memories returned to the past. My hometown was a small mountain village that lived off farming and forestry. A girl with a ponytail waved at him. I'm going to help at my aunt's shop today. See you later, Al. A young Albert looked up. He saw a little boy holding his grandfather's hand, happily shouting, Grandpa. It was a peaceful and distant world. A simple cottage, a rose bush with red berries. A young Albert tugged on his mother's skirt. Mom, why don't we have any relatives? You said Dad's father lives in the neighboring country. A cup slipped from the tray and shattered on the floor. His mother's voice was cold. Albert, I want you to completely forget that you have grandparents. His mother's hand pressed on his shoulder with an undeniable force. No matter what happens, you must never go near that house. Even as a child, I understood it was a topic that shouldn't be touched. The expression on my mother's face, one I had never seen before, was a deep fear and loathing, deeply seared into my memory. From then on, the only impression I had of my father's family was vague and negative. Villagers ran out of their houses in a panic. An earthquake. There's been a landslide over there. When I was 18, a great disaster struck my hometown. Our homes were turned to rubble. A bonfire flickered in the night. My father Fritz's voice was hoarse and weary. I think I'll have to go ask my father for help. My mother's emotions flared instantly. Please don't. I never want to have anything to do with that family again. My father's expression was one of helpless resignation. I understand how you feel, but we have no choice right now. His mother's voice was filled with despair. Absolutely not. If it comes to that, I'd rather die. That's right. Let's go find my aunt for help. His mother seemed to grasp at a last straw. I haven't seen her in a long time, but I heard she's running a big business in the capital. Her eyes filled with tears. Let's do that. Please. Fritz. His mother's warning echoed in his ears again. Albert's eyes grew complicated. It was a fear he had never understood, a past he could not touch. His father's voice was gentle but firm. We'll be back as soon as we can, Albert. Please take care of the people in the village. Albert nodded. Be careful on the road. And so, his parents set off for the capital. A few days later, a villager came running in a panic. Albert, something terrible has happened. 2 bodies covered with white cloths lay silently on wooden planks. Albert cried out, how could this happen? The villager's voice trembled. They said they ran into bandits. A cold flame ignited in Albert's eyes. He knelt beside his parents' bodies, his world plunging into a dead, silent darkness. A few days later, Pharisephin's envoy found me. Why now? If they had come a little sooner, could my parents have been saved? No, I'm just looking for someone to blame. I knew it in my heart, but I couldn't stop hating my grandfather. He caused all of this. He was the one who forced my parents to hide in a mountain village like this. Hope ignited in the villagers' eyes. They say they're from Fritz's family. Does that mean we'll get aid? Albert clenched his fists, but the village needed money. He turned to the crowd and said, it's all right. Everyone, don't worry. I will save the village. To survive, the villagers had no other choice. Albert shouldered his bag, preparing to leave. A familiar voice called out to him. Al, long time no see. Mia was wearing a pretty pink dress. Albert said, You're back in the village? I heard you went to work as a maid for a noble. Mia said awkwardly, I messed some things up. I couldn't stay in the city. She looked around. Looks like things are a mess here too. She leaned closer to Albert. By the way, isn't Pharisephin that super rich family with the wicked woman? She looked pitiful. Albert, actually, there's been a suspicious guy following me lately, and it's scaring me. Can I stay with you at the Marquis's house? I'll pretend to be your girlfriend and help you fend off that wicked woman. So please, take me with you. Albert was silent for a moment. All right, I'll be counting on you. The carriage drove off into the distance, towards that grand and unfamiliar estate. Silver hair flowed like moonlight. Her voice was soft. Welcome, new master. Her red eyes, like jewels, watched him quietly. Albert was stunned. She was like a fairy. However, that illusion soon shattered. She was the wicked woman of Pharisephin, my grandfather's wife. Sir Thomas unrolled the will. Wow, this is so blatant. This is basically a will written for the Marquis, isn't it? Albert was in disbelief. Was grandfather that infatuated with that woman? Sir Thomas shrugged. Who knows? I've only heard the rumors. They say she's the daughter of Viscount Mallow, who seduced the old Marquis to become his wife. Sir Kidman suddenly interjected. Sir Thomas, the rumors about the lady are all baseless nonsense. Besides, Miss Diana refused all gifts. Sir Thomas chuckled. Yes. Just look at his reaction. If he gets so angry, people will suspect your relationship with the Marquis. Sir Kidman trembled with anger. Albert's gaze darkened. Could it be that both Kidman and my grandfather were played for fools by that woman? Sir Thomas's voice rang out. Do you accept the final will of Caspar von Pharisephin? Diana's voice was clear and calm. Yes, I wish to honor Lord Caspar's wishes. My suspicion turned into certainty. I shouldn't have doubted him. The thought itself was insane. Albert rushed towards Sir Kidman. Why was only this little bit of money sent to my hometown? Selling any one of the treasures here could have brought in a lot of money, couldn't it? Sir Kidman shook his head. That's not the issue. Until the inheritance is formally settled, the young Marquis cannot freely use the assets. Diana bowed. We will do our best to meet all of Miss Mia's requests. We will also figure something out for the budget. Albert hung his head. So there's no way to manage the relief funds, but there's money for redecorating? Albert felt a wave of powerlessness. Are nobles the kind of people who abandon the weak? Regardless, once I get the inheritance, I will destroy the house of Pharisephin, the family that drove my parents away. If I can't get the money, then what was the point of coming here against my mother's dying wish? Diana wasn't a fairy. She was a witch. Even a single tear could bewitch a person's heart. I thought I would never be deceived by her. But a woman who would harm her own body to protect my feelings, is she really a witch? Albert let out a sigh. He sat down beside Diana. Enough. Look up. Diana slowly raised her head. Her red eyes held a hint of imperceptible vulnerability. Albert looked at her. She was like a child, carefully trying to read an adult's mood. Albert suddenly felt that all his vigilance had been somewhat ridiculous. A little more time. Perhaps I need to understand him a little better. Night at the gym. The lights are dim and yellow. Diana broke the silence. I have a proposal. Albert turned his head. Let's hear it. Diana's eyes were calm. The night was still long. Albert's profile was cast in light and shadow. He listened quietly. He meant it literally. He wouldn't be fooled again. Diana continued. We will be together for the next year. Since we have this opportunity, we might as well make effective use of this time. Albert looked out the window. A flicker of interest, one he hadn't even noticed himself, flashed in his eyes. All right. And so he decided to accept her proposal. Sir Thomas held the piece of cloth, a hint of mockery in his voice. S.O., you really brought proof of your wedding night. I was just trying to provoke you. Diana's gaze turned icy. Excuse me, what did you just say? Sir Thomas cleared his throat. Oh, nothing. The execution of the will regarding the bedchamber has been approved. For now on, please consult with me. Diana bowed her head slightly. Yes, I'll look forward to working with you. Diana let out a soft breath. Her tense shoulders finally relaxed. The door was gently pushed open. Albert walked in. Diana looked up. I've been waiting for you. Shall we begin then? Albert met her gaze. There was an inexplicable tension in the air. Diana pointed to the books on the table. Before we discuss your official duties, let's first study the geopolitics of the domain and the welfare of the people. Albert sat down opposite her. Then I'll be in your care. To make effective use of their nights in the bedchamber, they decided to use the time to learn how to manage the domain. Diana turned a page. Your daytime tutor also mentioned it. Her tone held a hint of approval, but it's hard to believe you've never been to school. Your academic foundation is very solid. Albert's gaze fell on the book, and Why Father Taught Me. Looking back now, it was precisely the education required of a nobleman. His father's intentions quietly became clear at that moment. Diana's red eyes gazed at him quietly, a faint smile playing on her lips. Albert's brow furrowed slightly. His fingertip tapped the page. He asked softly, "What does this part mean?" Diana's slender fingers slid across the page, her voice sounding steady, "Yes. This clause is..." Diana looked at the book in her hand. He muttered to himself. He was left in this vast, empty hall. Only the sound of his own footsteps remained. Diana stopped in front of a door. She clutched the book in her arms tighter. A voice sounded in the distance. Diana is definitely suspicious. Mia leaned against Albert. Albert looked at her. He asked softly, "What do you mean?" Mia said, "It's impossible for a person to be injured like that. In my opinion, the so-called white marriage is also a lie." Outside the door, Diana stood quietly. Mia continued, "A delicate woman who would sacrifice her own body to save you. Don't you find your heart stirring a little?" Albert's gaze wavered. He defended himself in a fluster. "It's not like that." Mia snorted that I could bet she deliberately mentioned a white marriage just to get your attention. Her words were full of insinuation that a token of purity is more likely to stir a man's instincts. All men want to be the first, don't they? Albert's cheeks flushed red. He looked away. That's too direct. Mia looked at him. "That you're so cute when you blush." She continued, "Anyway, you can tell if she has experience or not just by trying. Besides, as long as you're willing to spend money, an annulment is easy to get." Al lowered his eyes. His voice was deep. That might be true. Outside the door, Diana's figure froze. Mia's voice became urgent. "Al, you absolutely cannot sleep with her. The moment you make a move, you'll fall right into her trap. Next, she'll claim she's pregnant. Let's see you get a divorce then." Albert raised a doubt. "But getting pregnant isn't that easy." Mia sneered out, "Of course, if you're the only one. But who knows how many friends that vixen has on the outside." Mia's voice carried a hint of worry. "Your grandfather was tricked into writing that will." The detective was also fooled by that woman. Outside the door, Diana listened quietly. She said to herself, "Yes, I will think about this calmly. My reputation is too poor. It's not enough to make them believe me. But if they think the white marriage is a lie, Lord Casper's honor will be damaged." She hugged the book in her arms tightly, as if holding onto her last conviction. Mia sighed softly. "What a pity. Your grandfather was deceived by Diana. But with such a pitiable, lovely enchantress by his side, it's no wonder he was swayed." Diana thought to herself, "Miss Mia seems to sympathize with Lord Casper. If he thinks I'm a bad woman, perhaps Lord Casper's reputation won't be damaged. The rift between Albert and Casper might then disappear. In that case, it's better not to tell Albert the real reason I married Lord Casper." She turned and left, her steps without a trace of hesitation. The night deepened. Moonlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows. Corley walked to Diana's side. She asked softly, "My lady, what's wrong? Is something troubling you?" Diana raised her eyes. "I was just thinking about how to ease Miss Mia's anxiety." Corley immediately became agitated. "You should just ignore that vixen. She was quiet for a while, but now she's got a new maid and is doing whatever she wants." Diana asked softly, "Are you talking about Merrick, the maid Miss Mia just hired?" Corley nodded gravely. "That's right. That vixen is using that maid as a starting point to build her own faction." Diana's gaze was calm. "Miss Mia needs someone she can trust, someone who isn't influenced by me. As the future lady of the house, it's important that she can live here with peace of mind." Diana's expression was serious. "Corley, regarding what we were just talking about, what do you think I can do this year to put Miss Mia at ease?" Corley's eyes were filled with confusion. She asked, bewildered, "My lady, why are you so concerned about her? How long can Lord Albert keep his mistress, anyway?" Diana's tone was calm and certain. "Corley, you're mistaken. After 1 year, Miss Mia will be the lady of this house. I am the one who will be leaving." Corley retorted urgently, "That's not for certain. You might have a child within this year." Diana said, "I want to make her understand that such a possibility is absolutely non-existent. I have no intention of having a child, so there's no need to worry." Corley's expression grew worried. "That you're not planning on taking some kind of contraceptive medicine?" are you? Corley shook her head. That's not what I'm worried about. What if that vixen has a child? Diana said, that would be a joyous occasion. On the contrary, if I were the one to have a child, would Miss Mia feel at ease? A memory of a ball returned. The whispers of noble women reached her ears. There's a medicine from the East. It improves a woman's blood circulation and makes the body more receptive to pregnancy. Ginseng, medicinal herbs, and also prepared pills. Diana turned around. Corley, you managed to get the fertility medicine, didn't you? I want to give it to Miss Mia. Corley was stunned. Lady Diana. Diana's tone was calm, that I hope Miss Mia will be pleased. A carriage moved slowly under the sun, heading towards a magnificent manor. By the carriage window, a black-haired man gazed into the distance. The coachman's voice came through to, we'll be at the Marquis Felisafin's estate soon. The man sat back in the carriage and unfolded newspaper. Sunlight streamed through the window, falling upon him. The headline on the newspaper was clearly visible. Marquis Caspers will announce Diana von Felisafin to marry the Marquis's grandson, Albert. Marriage term, 1 year. The man's hand suddenly tightened, crumpling the newspaper into a ball. He leaned back against the seat, gazing out the window. The eyes behind his lenses were as gentle as water. He whispered softly, Diana, I can finally see you. The black-haired man stood in the foyer, a gentle smile on his face. He placed his hand on his chest. Miss Diana, it's been a long time. Congratulations on your marriage. The visitor was the Viscount of the Beeg family, Bartle von Beeg. Diana bowed her head slightly. Thank you, Bartle. I know this is sudden, but I have a new business venture I'd like to discuss with you. The two sat down in the drawing room. Bartle was her business partner of 5 years. Bartle studied the proposal carefully, his eyes behind his lenses shining with admiration. This idea is brilliant. The target customers have purchasing power, and there are no competitors yet. He looked up. I believe this will be a very profitable business. But then his tone shifted. However, Miss Diana, you usually plan things more thoroughly. As something happened, Diana began to speak that I need the money, so I want to start as soon as possible. I hope you can help. She didn't reveal the real reason. She had borrowed money from the bank to renovate Miss Mia's room and needed to repay it. Bartle was thoughtful. This must be related to you, using our joint business rights as collateral before. He was silent for a moment, then calmly took a document from his coat. He handed the loan agreement to Diana. I've already retrieved this from the bank. The debt has been fully paid. Diana was stunned. Bartel's tone remained steady. My family also owns a small piece of land. I used it as collateral. He gently took Diana's hand. His gaze was firm and gentle that I decided long ago. I will do anything I can to help you. Bartel's voice held a tenderness that could not be questioned, and I cannot forgive anyone else meddling in the business we built together. Diana lowered her gaze. I'll be leaving in a year. It's not worth you doing so much for me. The door was suddenly pushed open. Albert and Mia appeared at the entrance. Mia's eyes burned with anger. What are you two doing? Staring at each other so affectionately. Albert's expression was grim. Bartle adjusted his glasses. This is the first time I've been treated so rudely since arriving at this estate. Mia pointed at Diana. You're so calm after being caught in a secret rendezvous. Bartle smiled faintly. I believe you've misunderstood. I was simply receiving an explanation about a new business venture from the lady of the house. Mia was relentless. A likely story. You were even holding hands. Albert stopped Mia. Mia, stand down. He turned to Bartle, his gaze as sharp as a knife. Regardless of Mia's accusations, isn't it rude to visit without first paying respects to the new master of the house? Diana stepped forward. My lord, I apologize. I thought it would disturb your studies, so I omitted the greeting. Please allow me to introduce you. This is Viscount Bartle von Beeg. She then turned to Bartle. Lord Bartle, this is the new master of the house, Lord Albert, and his lover, Miss Mia. In a year, she will become the lady of this house. Bartle bowed slightly, his voice full of sincerity. My apologies for delaying my greetings, new master. I am Bartle von Beeg. Please allow me to express my condolences for your family's bereavement and congratulate you on inheriting the estate. For 5 years, I've been running a business jointly with the lady of this house. Albert extended his hand. A pleasure to work with you. The two shook hands. Mia leaned into Diana's ear. Hey, Diana, what is this joint business he's talking about? Could it be the Beeg Trading Company, famous for its luxury goods? Diana's reply was flat. You've heard of it? It's a company he founded himself. I was fortunate enough to assist from the sidelines. Bartel's voice held a laugh. Assist? That's too modest. Without your help, the bead trading company would never be what it is today. Mia turned to Diana again. Hey, Diana, that's part of your duties as the lady of the house, isn't it? You're planning to hand over the rights and profits to me, right? Bartle answered for her, his voice steady and firm. Unfortunately, the joint management rights of this business belong to Miss Diana personally. As for the Marquis Felisafin's house, I'm afraid that will be difficult to arrange. Mia's face changed in an instant. She sneered. How ridiculous. You just used the Marchioness's title and time, didn't you? You've taken what should belong to the family for yourself. Aren't you ashamed, Diana? Diana was at a loss for words. Bartle imperceptibly moved half a step closer to Diana's side. Bartell's words echoed in her ear that I decided long ago. I will do anything I can to help you. I cannot forgive anyone else meddling in the business we built together. I've already decided to leave. Perhaps now is the time to tell her. Diana looked up, meeting Mia's eyes directly. Miss Mia, I have a clear conscience. As is well known, it is common for a husband to allocate assets to his wife during his lifetime. This business was conducted with the assets and time given to me by Lord Casper. I have no intention of handing it over. Mia shrieked, "Oh, really? I see. So your private time also includes secret meetings with men. I've had enough." Albert's voice was icy and restrained. I have no intention of interfering in your private time. However, I expect you to avoid any behavior that would bring shame to the Marquis's house. Diana bowed her head slightly. Yes, I understand. Albert turned to Bartle. The same goes for you. I expect you to refrain from any behavior that could cause misunderstanding. Albert turned to leave. Bartle watched them go. He said in a low voice, "They certainly have personality." I was about to glare them to death. He turned to Diana and asked softly, "Your marriage, is it really because of the former master's will?" Diana said, "Yes, that's right. The marriage is for 1 year, after which we will divorce. The position of lady of the house will be handed over to Miss Mia." A glint appeared in Bartell's eyes. "Does that mean I'll have a chance in 1 year?" Diana was stunned. The two sat down again. Diana made a suggestion. "Why don't you start a new company? One that is entirely your own. This is just a proposal. I will give you all the rights to the new business we just discussed." Bartle hesitated. "But this business is expected to be very profitable. Don't you need the money?" Diana's tone was light. "That's fine. Now that the loan agreement has been retrieved, money is no longer an issue for me. So, I hope you'll accept this as a small token of my appreciation." Bartle thought for a moment. "That I understand. In that case, I'll gladly accept. You know I'm a persistent man, right? In 1 year, may I come to you with my results?" Diana smiled slightly. "Yes. It should become a company that no one can interfere with. I'm counting on you." Diana still felt a trace of confusion that I feel like you didn't understand. On the other side, Mia snuggled up to Albert, her tone apologetic. "I'm sorry, Al. I only said that because I felt I had to help my hometown. The village needs a large sum of money before winter." Albert's expression softened. "But to do it like that, I'm sorry for making you worry." A blush appeared on Mia's face. She thought to herself, Al is so easy to fool. This is great. I was a bit greedy and pushed too hard just now. I must be careful. Her expression suddenly turned cold, with not a trace of warmth left in her eyes, because I have no way to retreat. 3 years ago, she had been a maid in a noble house. Until the young master's Fianca copyright, he took a liking to him, and she was thrown out. Without a letter of recommendation, she could only work as a barmaid. Customers' hands rested easily on her shoulder, the touch carrying an uncomfortable warmth. She began to accept any invitation, moving through various social scenes. The laughter of men fell along with their gold coins. She became a plaything in their eyes. Unwittingly, she went from being the one earning money to the one spending it. By the time she finally realized it, everything was irreversible. She had reached the desperate point of selling herself. Just then, the trajectory of her fate changed completely. Taking advantage of the chaos, she escaped from her creditors, gaining a moment of respite. A figure in a winter hat appeared quietly. It was Mia. She heard the surrounding discussion. "Why would the Duke's carriage come here?" Another voice spoke up with some certainty. "I hear they're here to pick up Albert." Albert. The name struck a chord in her heart. She looked down at her dust-covered shoes. That Albert's family is really noble. The Albert in her memory always seemed a bit out of place, like an abandoned child. But Mia had given him a little attention, a little warmth. Their relationship was good because of it, like family. The fact that Albert was returning to his wealthy family meant that a gentle source of support was about to disappear. She bit her lower lip, a flash of determination in her eyes. It seems I have no choice but to go with him. Of course, she never thought of marrying Albert. That feeling was more like pity and companionship. She just hoped to use this to escape the notice of her creditors and find some compensation for her predicament. She would wait for the right moment to play the cards in her hand. Until then, she would enjoy it. This elegant and affluent life, like an unreal dream. But this comfort was so fleeting. A maid stood respectfully before her. "Miss Mia, you are going to the orphanage this afternoon." Mia came back to her senses. "All right, please prepare the donation." Merrick. Visiting the orphanage was one of her duties as the lady of the house. A gentle responsibility she had taken on herself. Albert looked at her, his tone gentle. "That you're helping with the estate's affairs, too." Mia continued, "It's fine. I may not look like it, but I'm actually very good with children." Mia's gaze went over his shoulder, landing on the maid. "This way, no one will find out that we're not a real couple." When Albert went to work, he always wore a guilty expression, because he has no intention of making me the lady of this house. Mia calculated in her mind that I must make good use of this guilt to gain the greatest benefit for myself. The carriage stopped in front of the orphanage, a quaint stone building. Memories flooded her mind. A rough voice rang out. "What the hell? Is this all the money you brought?" It was a heavy bag of gold coins, the beginning of all her troubles. Mia sat on the sofa, facing two ill-intentioned creditors. The maid, Merrick, stood by. One of the men spoke, his tone flippant. "The money's a little short, but you'll have to find a way to get it." Mia lowered her eyes. "I can only do as you say." On the day of her first visit to the orphanage, the creditors suddenly appeared. She was forced to leave just enough money to get rid of them and fled in a panic. She later discovered that the orphanage director had informed on her to the creditors, trading her whereabouts for debt relief. A creditor's finger playfully lifted a strand of her hair. "Anyway, this should be enough for the interest." Mia's body instantly stiffened, her pupils contracting in fear. The creditor leaned in close to her, his voice like a hissing snake. "In a year. You'll be the Marchioness, right?" He continued, laying out the tempting terms. "Pay me back then, with principal and interest. Albert will help you prepare it." The maid, Merrick, bowed respectfully to the creditor, as if he were the master here. Merrick reported to the creditor. "Miss Mia and the young master of the Marquis's house are holding hands, gazing at each other affectionately." The creditor explained to Mia that Merrick was their person, Mia's exclusive maid. He continued his assessment. "But your rival is the Witch of Truffen. That country girl has only been around for a year." The creditor sized Mia up as if appraising a piece of merchandise that it might be more profitable to just sell you. He finally laughed. "Fine, I'll let you be the Marchioness for a year. Let's see what you're made of. It won't be too late to sell you then." The creditor turned to leave. "All right, I'll be back in a month." The door slammed shut, cutting off the outside world. Mia stood frozen. The maid, Merrick, watched her quietly, her face devoid of expression. A thought flashed through her mind. If Diana gave her that escort fee, perhaps she could pay off her debt. Merrick's voice sounded softly, with a hint of imperceptible mockery. "Miss Mia, you might have to try a little harder." She smiled slightly, but the smile was as cold as ice. Mia's gaze sharpened instantly. She clenched her fists, her knuckles turning white. The setting sun cast a golden layer over the magnificent estate, but it couldn't dispel the chill within the room. Mia paced back and forth in her room, her steps revealing a hint of anxiety. She made up her mind. Before Albert develops real feelings for that woman, I must make him fall in love with me. Diana's image appeared in her mind. That woman could make Albert submit with just the crook of a finger. She hated to admit it, but Diana's beauty did possess that incredible power. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. Mia turned her head warily. A gentle male voice came from outside the door. "That it's me, Thomas. I brought a letter from the Marquis. I also came by to see you." A smile bloomed on Mia's face. "Sir Thomas." She hurried forward and opened the door enthusiastically. "Of course. Please come in." Thomas handed her the letter. Mia quickly stopped him. "You don't have to do these things, Sir Thomas. I'll be sure to scold that maid." She winked, a hint of playfulness in her smile. "That I stole the maid's job because I wanted to talk to you." Her heart skipped a beat. He always came to see her like this occasionally. She was completely captivated by him. Thomas handed her a letter. "This might be important. You should open it and see." Mia took the envelope and smiled confidently. "Then I won't be polite." She slit the seal with a letter opener, her movements elegant. Thomas watched her quietly. His voice was concerned at what's wrong, Mia. Your face is as pale as a ghost. On the paper was Albert's familiar handwriting. We received aid from the Marquis's estate. Everyone in the village will be able to get through the winter safely. Thank you for preparing so much. Mia's hand holding the letter began to tremble. The characters blurred before her eyes. The color drained from her face. This was a letter from her village chief, who sent aid to the village without my permission. She remembered their agreement. Didn't we agree not to use the Marquis's money? Albert wanted to inherit the Marquis's title for the village's reconstruction funds. Does he plan to give up the title and go straight home? If that's the case, this is serious. More serious than making him fall in love with me. My only path to repaying my debt will be completely cut off. She clutched the letter. Albert must not see this letter. She sat down next to Thomas, tried to calm her breathing and hide the storm raging inside her. Thomas's voice sounded gently. Hey, Mia. He gazed at her, his eyes full of sincere concern. If you're in trouble, I can help you. Nearly 2 months had passed since Albert and Mia arrived at Felisafen. Albert was absorbing the knowledge required to be a lord at an astonishing rate. His focus held a kind of determination. His tutors acknowledged his progress. It was a silent approval. At her desk, Diana's quill pen scratched across the paper. The scent of ink filled the air. Soon, we could begin the handover of the Lord's duties. He made no secret of his distrust for her. That distance made his studies go exceptionally smoothly. A delicate balance. Albert's gaze was blue. Diana's red eyes met his. Their gazes locked in the air. A moment of silence. He looked away, as if nothing had happened. Only the sunlight remained gentle, that what's important is to firmly support the one who will inherit the Marquis's title, and then hand over the family's reins as soon as possible. She nodded slightly. So far, so good. Diana looked up, her red eyes holding a question. Attend a social gathering. Kidman's voice was steady. Yes, it's one of the conditions of the will. You must attend official events, as you always have, interact with people, and enhance the family's prestige. Kidman sat down. Considering that, I think the two of you could host a small private ball. He looked at them. In 2 weeks, invite our closest associates and host a ball. What do you think? Diana continued to explain. Everyone in attendance will be the Duke's loyal partners. So for you, it won't feel like work. Albert bowed his head slightly. Understood. We'll attend. Diana watched him quietly. Without speaking, Diana turned to Albert. Then this will be your social debut. Her voice softened unconsciously. We can choose a dress for you that befits your beauty to welcome this semi-formal occasion. Albert seemed a little flustered. Mia doesn't need to be invited. A faint smile appeared on Diana's lips. The smile was gentle and clear. But I think this is also an excellent opportunity for Miss Mia's debut. To solidify Miss Mia's position. Miss Diana, I agree with the Duke's opinion. Kidman's voice held a hint of seriousness. Even if Miss Mia's social debut were to happen, it would be best after next year. Kidman continued his analysis. If a Duke brings his mistress to a social gathering, it will damage his reputation, because he doesn't know that doing so is wrong, and that violates the will. Diana's gaze softened. If it's just a damaged reputation, that's not a problem. Kidman sighed softly. You really need to realize how much you're cared for. Diana looked at the Marquis. I don't know why you are sighing, but I will respect the master's wishes. Albert spoke up immediately. Understood. I will attend with Miss Diana. Just the two of us. The conversation ended. Kidman left the room. Diana returned to her desk and picked up her quill pen again. Ink left its mark on the paper. I wanted to invite Miss Mia to attend. Is that all right? Albert's enthusiasm for the estate's preparations was high. This made her a little worried. Diana frowned slightly. That enthusiasm seemed to be entirely focused on Mia. Tobias reported to Diana. This is their time as lovers. We were kicked out by young Master Albert and Miss Mia. Corley added indignantly. Being kicked out every day is so pitiful. You can't stand to see it, can you, Miss Diana? They spend time together like that, so there shouldn't be any problem, no matter how close they are. Corley and Tobias argued in low voices by Diana's desk, their concern obvious. 2 weeks later, on the day of the ball, the hall was resplendent with light. Guests arrived one after another, magnificently dressed. The atmosphere was lively. Albert, dressed in formal attire, stood tall and straight, the sapphire on his chest shining brightly. He stood at the top of the stairs, his gaze searching below. When he saw Diana, his eyes froze. Diana was dressed in a black gown, her silver hair like a waterfall, like moonlight in the night. She saw Albert as Casper gently stroking her head. head. Now, Diana, let me introduce you, my princess. Diana whispered softly, my marquis. Corley stepped forward. Miss Diana. Diana closed her eyes and took a deep breath, and oh, this is Mr. Albert, not Mr. Casper. She opened her eyes, her gaze firm that I must perfectly carry out the task Mr. Casper entrusted to me. Otherwise, I won't be able to face him. Diana walked towards Albert, her voice soft and certain. Tea suits you very well. Albert stared at her, something in his gaze melting. Diana adjusted the ornament on his chest. Their fingertips brushed inadvertently. He flinched slightly. He moved closer to her, his arm wrapping around her, their gazes intertwining. Something in the air changed. He seemed a little angry and a little flustered. Anna pulled back her hand, her voice a little stiff. Sorry. Albert held out his hand. It's fine. Let's go. Diana placed her hand on his arm. Right. They turned to leave, but Albert suddenly stopped. Wait a minute. Mia appeared at the doorway, magnificently dressed, but with a hint of grievance in her expression. She looked at the two of them, her voice trembling. I heard there was a ball today. You deliberately sent me to the orphanage just so I wouldn't find you. Mia walked up to Diana, her gaze scorching. Miss Diana, I heard you were against me attending this ball because I haven't mastered the etiquette. She continued to question. I just heard a rumor from a maid. Does it make you that happy to belittle me like this? Diana looked at her quietly. Miss Mia decides her own schedule, including going to the orphanage. And the one who objected was Mr. Kidman, Mr. Albert. Albert's expression became complicated. Diana's voice was calm and clear. We decided to postpone your official social debut for a year. It would be better if you both stayed here. Mia looked at him in disbelief. What did you say? Diana added. To make new friends, it's best you learn etiquette before attending tea parties. She continued to suggest it might be a good idea to study etiquette a little. Mia's face flushed with anger. Postponing my debut without my consent? How outrageous. She pointed at Diana. That you're just as despicable a woman as the rumors say. Mia turned and ran off, her footsteps echoing in the empty hall. Albert apologized in a low voice. I'm sorry. Diana shook her head and, oh, it's all right. It must be painful for you to see your lover so upset. Albert's expression was complicated and, oh, yeah, Albert trailed off. Diana looked at him. Her eyes were clear and firm. She spoke at him. Why, Lord Marquis, I believe the best way to resolve Miss Mia's anxiety is for the two of you to have a child. Albert was stunned at a child. He looked at her, as if to confirm he hadn't misheard. Diana explained calmly. It doesn't matter if the child is born out of wedlock. The laws of this country state that even if you divorce me and remarry, the child will be considered a legitimate heir. Anna continued. That's right. Corley should have the fertility medicine ready. She turned to Albert. Since you're with Miss Mia every day? Albert's cheeks flushed, his breathing quickening. He seemed at a loss. That's not something you need to worry about. He turned and walked away, his mind in turmoil, leaving Diana standing there alone. Diana watched their backs. I've overstepped by interfering in your private affairs. A smile touched Diana's lips. What a naive reaction. I don't think that's the problem. Corley's expression was puzzled. Wait a minute. So, Miss Mia and young Master Albert. Could it be? Diana shook her head gently. I don't think so. Diana lowered her eyes. I've made him angry again. She looked up again, her gaze regaining its firmness. I must change my approach. Focus on young Master Albert's social debut. A forest under the night sky. A lone carriage traveled through, its lights the only warmth. The carriage stopped in front of a magnificent estate. The bright light from within the windows was like a silent welcome. Albert held out his hand. Diana placed her own hand lightly on his, her posture elegant and distant. She thanked him softly. Her gaze was calm and steady. To be able to separate emotion from duty. This is the quality of a ruler. A hint of approval passed through her mind. They walked through the main doors side by side, his hand guiding her back. A perfect posture. Diana couldn't help but marvel inwardly. Lord Albert is truly admirable. This feeling almost overwhelms me. She glanced at him discreetly. What is this feeling? I only need to watch over him from the side. So why does this urge to interfere well up? Diana called out softly, my lord. Albert looked at her. You can call me by my name. Albert was a little surprised. She stared at him. You don't seem to plan on talking to me. So this is just right. A flush crept up Albert's cheeks. He looked away, his composure broken for that one moment. They continued forward, something in the air quietly changing. Diana's thoughts drifted. I once hoped to be treated as family. When Albert turns around, I always find myself looking for another person's shadow in him. Albert walked ahead, his back somewhat distant. They arrived at the Grand Hall. The steward Lot and Kidman stood there, warm smiles on their faces. Kidman opened his arms. "Welcome, young Marquis and Diana." A murmur rippled through the crowd. All eyes were focused on the new couple. The whispers among the guests were like invisible needles. T.O. the new couple. Albert bowed elegantly. "Thank you for the invitation, Viscount Kidman." A girl suddenly rushed out from the crowd. "My lady," she cried, dropping abruptly to her knees. The maid surrounded the girl. "Ah, Fritz." The atmosphere instantly froze. Lot bowed deeply, his voice trembling. "Please forgive us." The woman was helped away, leaving a trail of silence. Albert turned to Kidman. "Excuse me, who is that lady?" Kidman answered softly, "I will introduce you later. She's the sister of the former Countess of Beck." A memory surfaced. That lady had treated the deceased with kindness. She was very fond of the Fritz couple. Kidman's voice was tinged with regret. "She was also genuinely looking forward to meeting you." Albert was thoughtful, that I see. He turned to mingle with the guests, moving with ease. A nobleman exclaimed in admiration, "My goodness, to entrust the Marquis's domain to such a trustworthy person." Anna stood quietly by his side, like an exquisite shadow. The steward Lot approached the young Marquis. The steward Lot bowed and said, "The former Countess of Beck has calmed down. She is in another room. I will take you there." Albert nodded. "All right, please lead the way." Diana didn't move. Albert noticed. "What is it?" She said softly, "I'm feeling a little tired. I like to go to the resting room first." Her gaze was frank. My relationship with the former Countess of Beck is not good. It was I who severely damaged her reputation. Albert looked at her. "Yes, that's so?" "All right." Seeing his reaction, Diana felt a pang of guilt. If I'm not there, he might be able to talk more freely. Diana stood alone at the end of the corridor. A voice came from behind her. "Lady Diana." A black-haired man approached, a gentle smile on his face. "It's a pleasure to see you again." Diana recognized him. "Bartle, so you're here too." Bartle bowed his head slightly. "Yes, I just arrived. I've also just greeted Viscount Kidman." He looked at Diana. "I wanted to thank you for the business matter the other day. Could we talk over there?" The two walked to the glass doors of the terrace. Moonlight fell upon them like a thin layer of frost. Diana spoke. "The magic market used to be limited to the upper middle class, but recently its scale has expanded a lot, hasn't it?" Bartle responded, "That's right. The trend started last year. Although it's not yet widespread in the countryside, it's only a matter of time. Since we can start a business outside the capital, this would be an excellent opportunity." Diana listened quietly, lost in thought. Bartle noticed the night wind. "Please forgive my impertinence. Even in summer, it's quite cold on the terrace." He took off his own coat and gently draped it over Diana's shoulders. A gentle and unquestionable gesture. This sudden warmth made her flinch slightly. Thank you." He adjusted the collar for her, his fingertips brushing against her inadvertently. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. The terrace door was suddenly pulled open. Albert stood there, his expression icy. He demanded, "What are you doing?" His voice was thick with suppressed anger, his brow dark and grim. Bartle turned calmly. "Long time no see, young Marquis." Albert took a step closer. "I'll ask you one more time." Bartle answered calmly, "I was just asking your wife for some business advice." Albert's gaze was as sharp as a knife. "Should you be doing that on a secluded terrace like this? I'm sure I told you to avoid misunderstandings. I cannot overlook this lack of respect you're showing." Diana's eyes flickered. She turned to Albert. "I apologize." She lowered her eyes. "I forgot that I am already your wife." Bartle stood in front of Diana, a protective stance. "Young Marquis, there is nothing improper between us." He smiled faintly. Amen. "I can understand your jealousy and concern for your beloved." But Albert cut him off. "That's not the point." There was no warmth in his voice. "The will involves the family's honor. I will not tolerate any act that tarnishes its name." Bartle raised an eyebrow, slightly. "Yes, that's so." He retorted with a hint of amusement. "Is it not a greater stain on your honor to have your former lover living under the same roof as you?" Albert's gaze turned abruptly cold, like a frozen lake. The air on the terrace froze. Three people, three different minds, facing off under the moonlight. Diana broke the silence. In aristocratic society, it is not permissible to offend someone of higher status than yourself." She looked directly at Bartle. "Apologize for your rudeness." Bartle's smile faltered for a second, then he regained his composure. He turned to Albert. I misspoke. Please forgive my immature words. His tone shifted. The young lady I met the other day, she was your lover before you met your wife, correct? You really shouldn't compare that relationship with the one you have with your wife. You were forced to marry because of a will. Albert turned his face away, his silence a tacit admission. Bartle continued, but, young Marquis, allow me to tell you. The trading company run by my lady has received great support from the populace and has contributed immensely to the prestige of the Marquis' domain. So I hope you can be more lenient. For the sake of the trading company and for the Marquis' domain, I promise not to make the same mistake in the future, such as being alone with her. He looked directly at Bartle. I will accept your word. I hope you remember it. Bartle bowed slightly. I will keep it in mind. He turned to Diana. Countess, I will see you at work. Albert took off Bartell's coat and draped his own over her shoulders, an unquestionable gesture. He said in a low voice, she doesn't need that thing. He took Diana's hand and turned. We're going back. His voice held a persistence that could not be ignored. Diana. She flinched slightly. Ali. Their hands were clasped tightly. He called my name for the first time. This warmth spread through her body. Is it because of the coat I'm wearing? Or is it the warmth from our clasped hands? No, I feel it's more than that. They walked together into the depths of a light. A silent tenderness filled the air like a garden in early spring. A few minutes earlier, the steward Lot had said to Albert, the sister of the former Countess of Beck has calmed down. She is in another room. I will take you there. The two walked down the corridor. In a corner, a man stood with his arms crossed. Have you seen the Marchioness of Felisaphen? Albert stopped at the words. Another guest whispered. Those who were pursuing the young widow must be heartbroken. That Miss Diana is so clever to have prepared a backup plan in advance. She recalled the scene of Diana being taken away. When she gets caught up in that kind of trouble, I hope those guys don't pull any tricks. The conversation continued. I feel so sorry for her. There are always bad rumors about her. A popular woman always attracts jealousy. It's terrible. By the way, the new master of that family seems to be a very promising person. The steward Lot turned to the side. Let's go another way. Albert followed behind him. Jealousy or gossip? Are you trying to tell me that she's not the person described in the rumors? That she's someone who attracts jealousy? The steward Lot turned to look at him. Those rumors were spread to protect her. Please rest assured, all favors tonight will flow to Felisaphen, so Miss Diana will not be in any trouble. That meant the attendees tonight simply thought of her as a charming woman without any prejudice. Albert stared into the distance. Then will there be anyone who genuinely cares for her? In a year, will anyone wonder how she feels? Albert stopped. He turned to the steward Lot beside him. Excuse me. Please tell the Countess of Beck that I will visit another day. The steward Lot smiled slightly. That's for the best. This is for the best right now. He bowed his head. I will inform the Countess of Beck. Thank you. Albert turned and left, walking through the bustling ballroom. He stopped, his gaze searching the crowd. Through a window, he saw Diana and another man. His pupils contracted suddenly. He strode forward. We're going back, Diana. Albert pulled Diana out of the hall. They boarded the returning carriage. The carriage jolted along in the darkness. Inside, there was complete silence. The two sat opposite each other. Albert spoke first. Was I too rude just now? Diana, wearing his coat, shook her head. I'm fine. Albert's cheeks grew warm, as always, her breathtaking charm. He clenched his fist. Be honest, that black dress bothered me even before we left. No, it's the same no matter what she wears. No one can resist her wicked beauty. The evil woman who deceived my grandfather. In front of Mia and me, she acts like a victim, but behind our backs, she speaks ill of us and tries every means to get my attention. I've seen with my own eyes actions that are enough to prove her wickedness, but I have also witnessed many moments that don't align with her ambitions. She even hurt herself to avoid our wedding and said she would support Mia and me. And every night when she tutors me, she sacrifices her sleep to teach me everything with great care. He returned to his room. Diana was already asleep. The moonlight spilled onto his peaceful, sleeping face. Albert gazed at him. His eyelashes trembled slightly. Albert reached out a hand, then stopped it in midair. He pulled his hand back. Sitting in the chair by the bed, he studied all night to distract himself. During the day, he rested in Mia's room to catch up on sleep, but the rumors painted a different picture. Would a selfish villainess go to such lengths just to make me the head of the family? At this point, it's hard to find a reason to see her as a villainess. Albert closed his eyes. Because I'm drawn to her. I really don't want to admit I'm attracted to her. I was blinded by hatred and anger. The two of them sat opposite each other in the carriage. Silence spread between them. But no matter what I think, my relationship with him won't change. Once I inherit enough of the estate and return to my hometown, I will leave. She's not the kind of woman who would be tied down by someone like me. Diana spoke softly. Sir Thomas is no longer on duty today. Why don't you spend a pleasant evening with Miss Mia? I'll make sure the servants keep quiet. I'm afraid I've displeased you today. You must also be tired from the party. Unbearable. Albert gazed at her. At times like this, I always feel I should have gone to comfort him. I was the one who misunderstood, and I was frustrated because I couldn't handle my relationship with Mia. It's all my fault, but since our relationship has no future, it's best to keep our distance. Albert looked away. I understand. The carriage stopped steadily in front of the mansion. Albert got out first. He waited outside the carriage door for Diana to step down, holding her skirt. She recalled Albert pulling her away earlier. When he called my name, I suddenly understood. This man, who once looked at me with disdain, now sees the real me. Diana is not that villainous, nor is she a witch. I finally realized that all this time, what I truly wanted was simply to be acknowledged. Diana instructed the maid, Coralie, behind her. Today is Miss Mia's first tea party. Make sure the color of my dress isn't too dark, so as not to spoil the atmosphere. Coralie replied confidently, yes, leave it to me. I'll make that lady understand she can never compare to your beauty. Diana thought to herself, that's not what I meant. Coralie combed her long hair. Diana thought quietly, if I stay behind to greet the guests, it will show that in this mansion, Miss Mia is under protection. Coralie came up to her. Miss Diana, are you leaving already? There's still some time before the tea party starts. Diana replied hesitantly, yes. Today's guests are all young ladies I don't know. I want to prepare early. She pushed open the door. Oh, sunlight filled the room. By the long table for the tea party, Mia and the noble young ladies were already seated. It seems everyone arrived very early. Diana walked forward. Thank you for your invitation, Miss Mia. Mia looked up, a smile on her face. Thank you for coming, Diana. Her smile held a hint of provocation. I thought you were too busy to accept the invitation. Or perhaps you were too ashamed to show your face here. The guests' gazes became subtle, as if they were all saying, the master of the house truly loves Miss Mia, and this marriage is just a sham forced upon him. Diana lowered her eyelids. How arrogant of me to think I could support Miss Mia in any way. She quietly clenched her hands. Everyone would want to be on Miss Mia's side, wouldn't they? Mia spoke, feigning distress. Please, everyone, don't do this for my sake, Mia said to the crowd, but Diana is really busy. Even now, she's personally managing all the household affairs. A young lady with pink hair chimed in. Miss Mia, you're too kind. She's just delaying handing over the duties of the mistress to hold onto her position. Another young lady also spoke up. She's late and didn't even apologize. But that dress is quite beautiful. Diana looked at Mia. My apologies, Miss Mia. It seems I remembered the time incorrectly. A noble young lady snorted. Easy for you to say. Mia interrupted her. I'm very happy you could make it despite your busy schedule, Diana. Your seat is over here. A servant served tea and snacks. Diana sat in the seat Mia indicated. The atmosphere of the tea party was a bit subtle. Mia rested her chin in her hand. Al always calls me Mia so gently. It sounds so lovely. The young lady next to her teased. It's enough to make one jealous. He always hugs me when he sees me. I can be quite clingy sometimes. Diana picked up her teacup, listening silently. The sound of his voice calling my name, with a hint of hoarseness, is very alluring. Mia suddenly turned to Diana. You think so too, don't you, Diana? Albert never calls me by my name, unless he's angry. Mia feigned surprise. Oh dear, I'm sorry. Did I ask something I shouldn't have? A young lady at her side quickly comforted her. Miss Mia, don't worry. That's quite normal. Mia said, looking ashamed, but I thought I was kind to everyone. Another young lady sighed. He's so gentle with you. It makes one so envious. In the past, I could always just laugh it off. But for some reason, my heart feels incredibly heavy right now. A maid-serving cart suddenly bumped into Diana. Warm tea spilled out. Mia let out a scream. Diana asked, are you all right? The maid, Marie, rushed forward. Miss Mia, please stand up. I'm worried you've been scalded. Mia clutched her soaked skirt, her voice choked with tears. But this dress, Al picked it out for me. The guests all started to blame her. Miss Diana, that's going too far. Poor Miss Mia. Diana sat in silence. If I say that Marie pushed me, she will have to be punished tomorrow. She looked at the anxious Marie. I can't let Miss Mia lose the only handmaiden who supports her. The door was pushed open. Albert walked in. What happened? The guest's eyes lit up. Mia, with tears in her eyes, called out to him. Al. She stood there, looking wronged. The dress you picked for me. I got it dirty. I'm sorry. A young lady immediately pointed at Diana. My lord, it was Miss Diana. She was jealous of Miss Mia and threw the tea on her. Albert's expression darkened. He strode quickly towards Mia. He gently took Mia's shoulders. Are you hurt? Mia shook her head. I'm fine. Albert grabbed Diana's wrist. His eyes were fixed coldly on Diana. He commanded sharply, Come here, Diana. Even in this situation, hearing him say my name made me happy. Albert, holding Diana's hand, led her away from the tea party. He pulled her into a deserted corner. His hand gently touched her hair. Are you jealous of Mia? If he had asked if I did it, I could have just taken the blame and been done with it. But he was questioning my heart. I can't even understand my own heart, let alone someone else's. But in that moment, I just wanted to hear him call my name in that sweet, gentle tone he uses for Mia. This feeling must be what they call jealousy. She lowered her head. Yes, that's right. Albert froze, his cheeks quickly turning red. He covered his mouth with his hand. Diana looked at him, confused. I'll go comfort Mia. You should go back to your room. Albert turned and left. Diana watched his back disappear down the corridor. He didn't blame me. Could it be? Diana stood by the window, the sunlight gently caressing her profile. Was Albert trying to help me out of that situation? She lifted her eyes slightly, a faint smile blooming on her lips. Diana looked at her maid. An idea took root in her mind. Perhaps there's a medicine that could make it easier for Mia to conceive a child. A wooden sign hung on the door, closed today. Coralie stared at the closed pharmacy, unable to believe her eyes. Why is it still not open today? Coralie's brows furrowed. This is the third time already. For Lady Diana's medicine. She turned to Tobias. Are you sure this is the place? Tobias's voice held a hint of despair. This is the only place that sells that kind of medicine. Our luck is just terrible. Tobias gently pulled her up. Let's go to a cafe on the main street. He said with a smile, we're on a date, after all. Coralie immediately retorted, this is not a date at all. They sat down by a window. Cake and black tea steamed before them. But Coralie's heart was heavy. Why am I running errands for someone else? For the birth of that brat? If I switch the potion and Lady Diana has a child, I'll be driven out, won't I? Tobias offered her a piece of cake on his fork. Don't look so glum, Coralie, he said softly. Here, try this. The sweetness of the cake melted in her mouth. Coralie's movements froze. She looked at him seriously for the first time. A small voice whispered in her mind, Tobias is actually quite handsome. Coralie felt the gazes around them. The eyes of the female customers were all glued to Tobias. His charm is probably nothing like his sister's, Coralie thought silently. Tobias suddenly leaned closer, his fingertips gently caressing her cheek. Coralie, you're so lost in thought, you've wrinkled your cute face. Coralie's cheeks instantly grew hot. See cute? Tobias rested his chin on his hand, his gaze both gentle and certain. Yes, your face is very cute. Coralie said angrily, you might have a talent for being a heartthrob. Go use that charm on that brat. The budding affection Tobias had just felt was instantly doused with cold water. Why did the topic circle back to this? Night fell without them noticing. The streetlights came on. Coralie sighed. It's already so late. A warm light shone from the pharmacy's window. The door opened. Coralie's eyes widened in surprise. They're open, so some shops only open at night. Tobias sighed in frustration. That shopkeeper, I told them to keep the shop closed. Coralie lowered her head. What did you say? Tobias shook his head gently. Nothing. The shopkeeper explained with a difficult expression. That medicine is a custom-made item. We don't have any in stock right now. Do you need to place an order? Coralie immediately replied, yes. We'll order one. Coralie sized up the shopkeeper and asked with concern, by the way, are you all right? The shopkeeper looked troubled. I am fine. The shopkeeper gave a kind smile. How wonderful, coming to a shop like this with your boyfriend. We have many other finished products in the store. Feel free to look around. Coralie thought to herself, it would be a problem if they ran out of stock. Coralie paced alone between the shelves, her arms crossed over her chest. Her gaze suddenly froze. Her pupils dilated instantly. This is a red nightgown. Coralie revealed a sly smile. Ha. Tobias cast a questioning look at her from behind. Tobias's hand rested on her shoulder. Coralie? His voice held a hint of worry. Corley's heart skipped a beat. This is... An idea flashed through her mind. A sly smile appeared on her face. Soon, they'll be going to the Western Territories. A surprise during the journey would be perfect, and this medicine is harmless to the body. It's just right for the occasion. Watch me teach that boy a good lesson. Bright sunlight bathed the land. The wind blew across the green meadows. It's been 3 months since Albert and I were married. A black carriage traveled along a country road. 9 months of our marriage remain. Diana looked at Albert. For the next few days, we will be inspecting the 5 southern territories. Albert sat opposite her, focused on reviewing documents. Diana's gaze fell upon him. The industries and histories of these places are crucial to the entire country. Albert looked up from his documents. The population of that town is growing. Why haven't the tax revenues increased? Diana began to explain. That's because the carriage suddenly jolted. It will seem to have hit something. Albert looked out the window. Diana, what is that? Diana came to her senses. Yes, that's a giant water wheel. Diana explained softly. It's a farming tool unique to this region. Albert watched with interest. Using the power of the water's flow. How interesting. He started calling my name more often. Diana watched his figure. Does this mean he started to like me a little? The carriage entered the quiet town. The subjects were already waiting by the roadside. Welcome, my lord. Albert was surrounded by the crowd. He turned to Diana. Lady Diana, could you please take a look at this? He handed her a document. This is a report compiling the opinions of the subjects. Diana looked at the sturdy young man. Your Secretary Lau, correct? Secretary Lau's face flushed slightly. I can't believe you still remember my name. Your feedback last year left a deep impression on me. A voice echoed in her mind. Diana, a ruler must listen to the will of the people and be close to their hearts. Diana's gaze fell on the report. She said to Secretary Lau, thank you, Albert, and I will review all of its contents together. Secretary Lau was somewhat excited. The town mayor has prepared a welcome banquet for tonight. He also prepared the dessert you said you liked last year. Albert reached out and took the report. He said to Secretary Lau, thank you for your hard work on this report. Albert's hand gently rested on Diana's back. My wife is also looking forward to that dessert. Secretary Lau was overwhelmed with favor. Why, yes, we will certainly give you our best hospitality. Diana's body stiffened. Did he just say my wife? It was just a common courtesy, but hearing it from Albert's lips made my heart pound. The night sky was clear, dotted with countless stars. Corley's voice came from outside the bathroom door. Lady Diana, I've left your clothes here. I've already arranged for the other staff, so I'll be taking my leave now. Diana, soaking in the warm water, replied, I know. Thank you, Corley. Diana walked out, wrapped in a bath towel. Is this nightgown really okay? She muttered to herself. Coralie. The door opened softly. She walked out wearing the nightgown. She had deliberately not lit the magic stone lamp. He probably won't be able to see clearly, right? Only one lamp was lit in the room. Albert was sitting in a chair, reading a document. He heard the sound and looked up. His eyes met hers. The documents in his hand scattered to the floor. Diana stood there, wearing a bright red lace nightgown. Rose petals seemed to bloom around her. This is Coralie's. She probably grabbed mine by mistake. Blaming on a careless maid is probably the smartest choice. Albert knelt down, clumsily picking up the papers on the floor. It was an accident. That's a reasonable explanation, right? He stood up. You don't have to. I'll clean it up myself. He raised a hand, signaling that she didn't need to help. He looked at her thin clothes. By the way, aren't you cold? Diana replied, a little. Albert pointed to the bed. Get in bed. She lay down at once. Yes, it's still a bit chilly under the covers. She couldn't help but sneeze. Albert sighed, covering his face with his hand. It seems I've really made him angry. Diana felt a little annoyed. His hand suddenly reached out, grabbing her cold fingers. Diana looked up in surprise. Albert's gaze was gentle and firm. Come over here. Albert pulled her into his arms. His warm chest pressed against her back. Diana's breath caught for a moment. The scent of flowers filled the air. His deep voice sounded by her ear. I can't let you catch a cold. Diana's eyelashes fluttered gently. Something inside her heart quietly melted. The bed was no longer cold. Only their shared body heat and heartbeats remained. The moonlight outside the window shone gently on them. Diana watched him quietly. He's so warm. His hand rested on her back. I can clearly feel his heartbeat. Lord Albert's heartbeat is so reassuring. She slowly closed her eyes. In each other's warmth, they fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, Coralie had a mischievous smile on her face. Lady Diana, how was the nightgown? The young master seemed to have a hard time. I did a good job, didn't I? She then looked Diana over. However, my lady seems to be in better spirits than I expected. Diana replied calmly, I slept very well last night. Coralie's expression instantly fell. It seems Lady Diana didn't do anything. Is there something wrong with him as a man? Just imagining it makes me. The door was thrown open. Tobias burst in, looking flustered. Lady Diana, Coralie, what on earth did you do? Diana was just lifting her teacup. Lord Albert. Tobias's voice was choked with tears. I have no intention of interfering with your interests, but please show some mercy. That's what he said. And then he glared at me with cold eyes. Diana had a sudden realization. That's because I said that nightgown was Coralie's. The three of them sat at the table. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. Coralie's face instantly turned beet red. Tobias, is this my fault? Diana silently thought, I'm sorry. You too. The journey continued. The carriage traveled along a path through the woods. The carriage suddenly jolted violently. Albert immediately stood up. What happened? The coachman's voice came from outside. There seems to be a problem with the wheel. Please wait a moment. Tobias returned after checking, his expression grave. The axle is broken. I'm afraid we can't go any further. Albert conferred with the guards. Should we send someone to call for a spare carriage? A guard advised, if we do that, it won't arrive until nighttime. Rather than risking moving forward, it would be safer to make camp here. After all, the Knights of Elsfin are known for being good at camping. Albert agreed. You're right. Let's follow the advice of an experienced traveler. Diana sat quietly, listening to their conversation. Tobias walked over. Coralie, they've already settled in the port town. I'm sorry to have startled you, Lady Diana. Diana shook her head gently. It's no one's fault. Don't worry. A guard reported to Albert. Lord Albert, I've sent a guard to arrange for a spare carriage. It should arrive by tomorrow morning. Albert nodded. All right. Thank you for your hard work. Let's prepare to make camp before dark. Night fell. They lit a bonfire in a clearing in the woods. The flames crackled. Steam rose from the food in the pot. The three of them sat around the fire, eating dinner in silence. The way Lord Albert handles emergencies, the way his guards set up camp, it's all so cool. Diana gazed at him. I was so captivated watching him. Diana's cheeks flushed slightly. The night deepened. The starry sky was brilliant. I told them to just prepare ordinary bedding for me. Diana lay in her sleeping bag. The bonfire burned quietly. The night wind rustled the treetops. I have to work hard starting tomorrow. I need to get a good rest tonight. She soon fell into a deep sleep. The silence of the deep night was broken by the sound of hoofs. They grew closer and closer. Diana's eyes flew open. A guard's roar cut through the night. We're under attack. Diana pushed herself up. What? A hand suddenly covered her mouth from behind. Albert pulled her into his arms. Don't make a sound. His breath brushed against her ear. He held her tightly, his eyes vigilant. Run into the forest quickly. Diana tried to look back. Albert pulled her into the bushes. Don't worry about them. The guards can protect themselves. We can't get involved. A shout came from the distance. A woman ran into the forest. Albert's expression grew grave. He gripped her hand tightly. Albert pulled her along as they ran through the dark woods. He suddenly stopped. Wait. Before Diana could react, Albert swept her up into his arms. His eyes were determined. Diana's heart skipped a beat. The sound of the pursuer's footsteps echoed through the forest. He continued to run, holding her. The night wind blew through her hair. Suddenly, a rock tripped him. The pursuer's footsteps were getting closer. What happened? Did they fall? They stopped at the edge of a cliff. Where are they? Diana's heart was in her throat. They were hanging from the side of a cliff. The sound of rushing water roared below. Albert let out a breath. Thank goodness. Diana looked at his relieved profile. Why does he look so relieved? His hand was still holding hers tightly. Why won't he let go of my hand? Albert whispered, damn it, they're coming over. Diana looked at him. This is bad. It's only a matter of time before we're discovered. I have a good idea. Their target is me. If I die, the pursuers should stop their chase. I have to protect him. Albert seemed to sense her intention. No. Diana's gaze became determined. I want to protect him. She forcefully broke free from his hand. Albert looked at her in shock. You. She leaped, plunging into the dark abyss. Albert's hand reached into the empty air, his eyes filled with terror. The wind howled in her ears. Diana closed her eyes. A scream echoed from below the cliff. A huge splash erupted instantly. Bubbles escaped from her lips. Her body slowly sank into the cold darkness. Can I return to Lord Casper's side like this? Lord Casper will surely scold me. To protect Lord Albert, I can return to Lord Casper's side. There's nothing happier than this. But if I could make one wish, Albert's image appeared in her mind, calling my name with a gentle voice. I want to hear it one more time. Her consciousness sank into the endless abyss.